Hi, this is Sonia from Your Vegan Guide. I'm actually recording part 2 of my Woodstock Fruit Festival review. I got kind of cut off by my camera, so I'm making this into part 1 and part 2. So in the first part of my review, and please take a look at part 1 if you haven't already seen it, I just reviewed my thoughts on the festival, both my positive and negative experiences, what I liked about the pioneers and the food, and the reasons that I'm not attending the festival this year, even though I think it's a phenomenal festival. And it mainly has to do with the opportunity cost for me, the expense and effort that it takes to get there versus doing something completely new that I haven't done before. So there were a couple more topics that I wanted to cover. First of all, I wanted to talk about the food. In part 1, I did touch upon that there were differing philosophies of eating represented at the fruit festival, which I really think is great because, we need to be always questioning and taking a look at the differences so we can find out what is right for us. Well, one thing I definitely wanted to mention about the fruit festival is there was an abundance of juicers and blenders available. So you could do a lot of juicing yourself, and it was made very easy. There's lots of greens in the juicing area, plus you can go into the kitchen and get all the fruit you want and do your juicing or your blending. And so clearly, if you've read 80-10-10, and you should definitely do that before attending the Woodstock Fruit Festival, some of the practices that are actually done at the Woodstock Fruit Festival don't follow 80-10-10 per se. 80-10-10 really promotes whole, raw, organic foods. And most of the produce at the fruit festival, which is very impressive, I think they said 80 or 90%, 90% probably, is organic. So that's a pretty incredible feat. But in terms of whole foods, there were definitely people there who were doing some juicing, and there are definitely pioneers who believe in that. And I personally do believe in juicing, so it's good. But there was such an abundance of food that I really didn't do too much juicing. I did a little bit there because I wanted to be exposed to different types of juicers than what I had. So that's also great. You can expose yourself to different kinds of equipment at the fruit festival. But there was tons of orange juice, and I loved that. I loved some of the food. Some food I wish was more available. I'm so glad I brought my own bananas and prunes because that did help out. There was kind of a shortage of bananas there. But really, there was so much else. There was tons of watermelon, oranges. There's no way that you would starve there. There was always something, available. And for my part, I thought the raw gourmet was really neat. Like we had raw lasagna one night, but I could have done without that too because, part of what's being promoted in 80-10 is eating with simplicity. So I'd almost rather be in a tropical area, like Thailand or Hawaii, kind of experiencing it from that point of view. And I may actually take a trip down to the tropics in the near future just to kind of have that experience. From what I understand, when you go to some of these places like the Dominican Republic and have the all-inclusive deals, that a lot of fruit is available. So I kind of wonder how I'll do on my own with that. But the food is very good at the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and you can take some home with you. So the other thing I really wanted to address is the controversy around the Woodstock Fruit Festival. Freely and Durian Rider are no longer part of that festival. They were deemed as to be promoting cooked food too much, and that the ideal of the Woodstock Fruit Festival is to promote 100% low-fat raw vegan, even if some of the pioneers themselves are not 100% raw, but it's still their ideal. And, I think that's fair enough. I love Freely and Durian Rider, and I think they make some valid points and criticisms of some particular people and the Woodstock Fruit Festival itself, but I'm also not quite there because I think, Mike Arnstein's video was also excellent. And I think a lot of the pioneers, their heart is definitely in the right place. I felt that when talking to them. Now, as I alluded to in part 1, I did feel there was a certain arrogance with some of it. Like even when I was filling out the evaluation form for the Woodstock Fruit Festival, I felt there was too much emphasis put on the pioneers and, you know, how much a certain pioneer would influence my decision to come back. And really, I think I would come back to the Woodstock Fruit Festival, but it's not because I'm in love or I worship somebody who I think is my guru. I have no gurus. I am my own guru, and I stand solid with that. And I think to go into an event with really strong personalities and that kind of thing, I think it's a good way to go in. Because if I followed anyone perfectly, I might get great health, or I might go crazy. I might not like it, or it might not agree with my digestive system. And believe me, I have done a lot of experimentation, even in recent times. And I'm going to talk about the juice feast I was just on in future videos. But my point is, you must kind of assess things for yourself at the end of the day. But you also must be open, because I wish I had become raw vegan, or not raw vegan, but vegan a long time ago. And that's another huge positive of the Woodstock Fruit Festival. You will actually encounter people who have been vegan their entire lives, and that is quite a sight to see. The kids at the Woodstock Fruit Festival who have been vegan their whole lives, oh my God, their behavior is incredible. It's wonderful, and they look so radiant and beautiful. It is worth it to go just for that. And if you have a family and you have kids to expose to this type of lifestyle, I really think this is an incredible opportunity and one that could be life-altering. So please keep that in mind. It is a very unique event, and I definitely encourage people to go. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is I am a very detail-oriented person, and I've only covered so much in these videos. If you have specific questions, I would definitely encourage you to leave them in the comments below, because I remember a lot, I dealt with a lot, I'm kind of a logistical type person. So if you have a certain situation, you're wondering how that might interact with the fruit festival, I would definitely encourage you to, of course, look on the forums, but go ahead and ask me a question, and I'll definitely try to do my best to answer it for you. Now, keep in mind that there's big changes planned, and mostly it seemed like really positive changes to do a lot of expansion in the campground that the Woodstock Fruit Festival is held. But I'd love to answer your questions. So if you have any, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you very much. Goodbye.